Welcome to the Ken Patterson Show, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence, and thank you for your energy. I greatly appreciate it. If you would, before we get going, man, please hit that like, follow, share, subscribe, all the buttons you need to hit for me to stay moving in the algorithm. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Also, I'm going to be moving the page to the Ken Patterson Show page, just because I want to keep everything uniformed across my different platforms. So if you are a follower and you're interested in, following the content, continuing to follow the content, I'm going to ask that you please follow me at the Ken Patterson Show at Rumble. So I'm going to leave that link in the description here. So if you want, after the show, just click on that link and it'll take you over to the Ken Patterson Show, man, and just hit that follow button for me over there. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. And so anyway, let's get going, man. Tonight we're going to be talking about this Epstein file stuff. And if you are on social media, which I know over a billion people in the world are. So I'm quite sure, if you're watching this, you're on some kind of social media. And if you are on X particularly, you would think that only Donald Trump is the only name mentioned in these Epstein files. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're getting. And I mean, I guess it's cool because X is a free speech. In this matter, they seem to be a free speech platform because I see a lot of, wacky liberals saying whatever it is they want to say. And, I don't see any warnings. I don't see this stuff coming down or being blocked or whatever. But some of this stuff, man, is kind of crazy right now. I mean, you see people are actually talking about, civil war and, the liberals want to fight MAGA and this kind of shit, man. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. But what is more, interesting to me is that the fact that, they want Donald Trump so bad, that they will jump out here ahead of the whole story. They don't even have all the facts. And really the fact is that in spite of all of these allegations, there's no proof. They have been found pretty much to be baseless, right? So tonight we're going to cover some of this stuff and talk about, it's funny to me how, when you're on these sites or whatever, you can say as long as it kind of lends itself to the agenda that the elite are pushing, then you can kind of get away with any kind of fringe statements or whatever. But if it's going against what they're what they are trying to cook up in our society, amongst the people, they want the people fighting each other, right? They want us at each other's throats. So they can continue to do the things that they do and nobody even notices, right? We just did a show the other night about, 460,000 children going missing a year in this country. And believe me when I say that I have no dog in this fight. In 2020, I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump in 2024. And if the choices were the same again in 2028, I would vote for Donald Trump again. So, but I am not, extremely pleased with, some of the stuff that Donald Trump has been doing since he's been back in office, particularly, the way he serves Israel, the way he bows to Israel. That is my biggest pet peeve with Donald Trump. Some of the policies and the tariffs and that kind of stuff. I'm not against that. I'm not against tariffs. Before the IRS, that's what we did, tariffs. So I'm not against that. I'm not against you know, it, making illegal aliens do what's right to be in the country. I'm not against that. I'm not against them having to come here properly, like and be vetted like everybody else, and go through the process the right way. That's how it has to be done. We cannot just let people walk in and sit down and then start reaping the benefits of our tax dollars. That's not fair to anybody. So, but when it comes to the children and it comes to this kind of stuff right here, I don't care who it is. If you touch a child in that way, then you are fucking scum. You're just scum, and that's there's no gray area for me there. There's no gray area. I'm not going to excuse anybody's that kind of behavior from anybody. So, with that being said, I just think that people should take their time, especially these wacky liberals. These people on the left, man. This is why nobody will be voting Democrat. This is why they have such a poor rating among the people. They actually suck, right? They actually suck. So, and so do Republicans. Don't get it twisted. Like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. And really, as far as politics are concerned, I truly understand that none of these people work for us. They don't serve us. They don't care about the greater good of this country. They don't care about the greater good of the population, the citizens of this country. They don't care. So I have definitely realized that. And we can't vote our way out of the mess that we're in. We are in a huge mess. And just, being back and just, I'm back on X because I posted a show page over there as well. So, but being there and seeing just how these people are just, behaving and buying into this stuff. And it just, it's really disgusting, man. It's like, this is where we are right in 2026. We're still arguing about people who don't give a shit about us, right? We're still at each other's throats about people who don't give a damn about us. If you don't rock the way I do, then we have to be at each other's throats. That's not even the way things have to be. We don't have to be like that with one another. If we don't agree, then we just agree to disagree. And we don't have to fight. We don't have to threaten each other and, want each other dead and that kind of shit. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But that's exactly where they want us. And I really feel like a lot of this stuff that I see right now on these sites is, bots, AI, and all kinds of stuff. So we can't really trust what we see with our eyes on these platforms, right? There's, it's just too much. There's too much technology. There's too many ways to compromise, photos and videos. And so, it's hard to believe a lot of the stuff that you see. And I really believe that, a lot of that stuff is bots. But because I just don't believe that the American people are really that dumb. I can't believe that people are really that stupid, right? So I have to believe that this is the work of, some AI trying to learn human behavior, right? He's close, but not quite there. So anyway, tonight, man, let's get into it. Let's go, and we're going to check out an article that I found today while, looking for some of this stuff about Donald Trump and how these people are acting with Trump. And so let me go to the article for you. 1 second here. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. These are some takeaways from the many mentions of Donald Trump in the newly released Epstein files. So here we go, guys. So this here is supposed to be an email that Donald Trump is mentioned in. And I don't know if you guys can see those names or not. I'm going to try to blow it up a little bit. But anyway, just above this, it says Donald Trump's name appears hundreds of times in the most recent release of the Epstein files, including on an FBI list of men who are named as subjects of salacious information. Okay, so let's listen. Let's look at this right here. This says it has Donald Trump, and in parentheses it says one identified victim claimed abuse by Trump, but ultimately refused to cooperate. So, and to me, that doesn't mean that. To me, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? To me, that doesn't mean that that didn't happen. It just means that the person did not decide that they decided that they did not want to go forward with, um, coming forward with any charges or whatever. So for whatever reason, so when you're dealing with people with this kind of money and this kind of power, who knows what happened, right? Who knows why they decided they did not want to come forward, right? So anyway, let's go back to the story. But I just also wanted to highlight and point out that on this same list, in this same email, you have Prince Andrew, you have Jess Staley, Liam Black, Glenn Dubin, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, David Copperfield, Les Wexner, and I believe Les Wexner was a financier for Jeffrey Epstein as well. Jean-Luc Brunel, Naomi Campbell, Chris Tucker, Larry Summers, Kevin Spacey, Didier, Bill Gates. So, but you don't see all of the attention being paid to all these other names that are on the list, right? It's only Donald Trump, bad guy Donald Trump, bad guy Donald Trump. He should resign. He should go to jail. He should be arrested. But if that's the case, then all of Washington D.C. should be arrested and taken to jail. If that's the case, if Donald Trump is going to be arrested, everybody's got to be arrested. They all have to go down. Are you kidding me? Donald Trump should be arrested, and that's just ridiculous. So anyway, let's keep going right here. So anyway, it says here, but so far there are no bombshells that threaten Mr. Trump's political standing or major new revelations about his well-documented friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Being named in the Epstein files does not imply wrongdoing, but the 3.5 million new files, among the 3.5 new files, many of the mentions of Mr. Trump are in news articles and other innocuous public documents or in passing and private emails. Okay, on the weekend, Mr. Trump said he had not seen the new files, but he says, I was told by some very important people that not only does this absolve me, it's the opposite of what people were hoping. The radical left, he said. And so that's exactly who I'm talking about, the radical left. Those are the people out here just spinning this story and, just acting, showing all these videos that people have seen 100 times, millions of times already. This is not new video footage that people are posting on Twitter. None of this stuff is new out there. So, keep that in mind when you're out here and you're following people and you're listening to this stuff. Use some discernment and, really just do your own research. This is my advice to you, to do your own research. So here we go. Let's keep going. So here, this says the FBI received tips alleging abuse by Trump. So this says the documents include an email from an FBI worker that outlines specific allegations against Mr. Trump and other prominent figures. The allegations appear to be based on unvetted and unverified tips received by the FBI. The email from August last year says some of the reports were secondhand tips. It appears they were not deemed sufficiently credible to investigate. They include claims of sexual misconduct and abuse by Mr. Trump, including against girls as young as 13 and 14. Some callers complained about several events at alleged sex parties where Mr. Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell were said to be present. Some of the complaints were referenced in previously released files, okay? So again, you have all these people calling in, these anonymous people calling in, making these claims against Donald Trump, saying that, they were abused by Donald Trump, but nobody's really willing to come forward. They're making these claims. So here we go. They're making these claims and nobody will really come forward and say that, or go to court or really sue him or file charges. none of this stuff. And then the FBI is looking at this stuff too, and they haven't, I guess, seen anything. And I know it takes a long time to go through 3 million documents, 3 million plus documents, but they haven't seen anything to this point that would deem Donald Trump leave office or be arrested for any kind of salacious behavior. So anyway, let's go on a little bit more into this article, man. So anyway, in response to this inquiry, this is what the Justice Department statement said. It said this production may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, or videos, as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public was included in the production that is responsive to the act. Some of the documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false. And if they have a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. You know, in between 2020 and 2024, I might have believed that, you know, but I really, just because of the climate, you know, the political climate that we find ourselves in, I don't believe that if they had that information, they would just be so willing to use it against Trump. Because again, if you use it against him, then, you know, once one card falls, the whole house got to go. The whole house is going to fall. So if you're going to go in there on Trump like that, do you think that if he was involved in something like that and they try to take him to trial and go to discovery and all this kind of stuff, do you think that he's not going to say that, well, hell, Bill Gates was there when it happened. Chris Tucker was there when it happened. Shit, Alan Dershowitz was there when it happened. Bill Clinton was there when it happened. You know, so nobody, they talk that shit, but they don't want to really release these files, or even if he is involved, they would never ever release that shit, because then, like I said, once you let one card fall, the whole house got to fall. So anyway, and just, you know, the Justice Department finished. Well, I think this is another statement that came out from Trump's the U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Made this statement here. So let's check this out. So the U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who has previously worked as Mr. Trump's personal lawyer, told CNN on Sunday local time, it turns out there was a number of claims made by either anonymous people or somebody, for example, calling and saying, I used to have a roommate who told me this sensational story. So just so you know, obviously that's not something that can be really investigated, right? What's your roommate's name? I don't remember. So what's this? So what's that about? You know, and some details, including information about the people who made the complaints, are blacked out. So again, you know, you have people calling on the phone, making these kind of allegations and stuff, but nothing concrete ever comes of it. And I can understand, you know, like just regular people maybe being afraid to come forward with this information and say anything about it. But, you know, you know, because I'm not partisan here. So it's hard to believe any of this stuff because Donald Trump is very powerful, man. And everybody who was visiting that island and hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein are powerful people, you know. So I can understand a person being maybe afraid to want to do that, you know, to go forward and want to you know, challenge these people and put their lives on the line, because you see what happened to the girl, the Guthrie girl, Virginia Guthrie. She just comes up dead, you know, and it's just, you know, this is just too coincidental, guys. This is, how many coincidences do we need, you know, before we realize that this is a pattern? This is not coincidence. This is a pattern. anytime somebody is saying the wrong thing, anybody who really knows something that can hurt these people, they better hold on to it, or else, this is the problem, that we have people now, right now, victims living in fear. And and a lot of victims, a lot of those kids, a lot of kids just come up missing, man, and never come back. We never see them again. Never, missing without any trace. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So I definitely believe, just because there have been allegations and people said that, I think where most of the time where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if you really were abused by Donald Trump, come forward, come and say it now. The time is now. If you guys want Donald Trump out of the White House, you want him gone to jail for 200 years or whatever y'all wanted before, then come forward with that, man. Come forward and say that. Come forward and say what happened to you. Come forward with some proof. And the worst thing that can happen is that you go in front of a jury with your story, and Trump's lawyers defend that, him, and the jury believes who they believe. That's how you do it here, right? That's how you do it in a court of law, and you file the charges, and you make this stuff public knowledge. So let's do it. I'm all for it. I'm all for knowing who was there, who did what, and the names and all that stuff, and I think all of those people involved should go to jail. I don't care who it was. I don't care who it was, I don't care. So if any of those people actually did these things, man, then they should go to jail, and worse, because like I said, man, a lot of these children won't ever be seen again. Ever. So, it's just ridiculous, man, to watch these, to be on these platforms and see these people acting a fool like they are. It's absolutely ridiculous, to me, to see that. So anyway, I just wanted to cover a little bit about, how this stuff is, how they are covering this stuff on these platforms, man. Like I said, you would think that Donald Trump was the only person on this damn list. Let me get up here to the top. I want to find this other list for you guys. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Let's see. Here we go. Let me open this here, and we can get right to it. So let's see the whole conversation. Let's see. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let me check this out for you guys. So this is just me and Chat GPT rapping. Let me show y'all. Let me share my screen with you guys again. So this is me talking to Chat GPT, and this is, again, they make it, they do their disclaimer thing where they say, hey man, listen, association does not equal guilt. This doesn't mean that these people are guilty of anything. Allegations don't equal guilt. So keep all of that in mind when we're talking about who's on this list and what they did, and because we don't know what they did just yet. We don't know. So be careful when especially you guys with these bigger platforms, just kind of be careful when you're talking about these people. And anyway, so here's some names of some celebrities and entertainment figures who are on the list, right? So here we have Naomi Campbell. We said they had Michael Jackson. They had Mick Jagger, Diana Ross, Kate Blanchett, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, Cameron Diaz, Kevin Spacey, David Copperfield, Chris Tucker. Listen, we got Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, we probably knew. Courtney Love, Ralph Fiennes, Liz Hurley, so Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson. These are royalty. This is royalty. Prince Andrew, the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. So, it goes on and on and on and on and on about who was on the list, right? Who people associated with these files, right? So it goes on and on and on and on and on. So why people are just, and maybe just they're focusing on Donald Trump like that because he is the president of the United States. So, that's fair. If you're the president of the United States and you've been participating in nefarious behavior, then you should be called out. You should be run out of the White House. If that's something you've been doing. If you've done that, you should be run out of the White House. But, unfortunately, it seems like the country is run by pedophiles, controlled by pedophiles, and we all sit back and watch it. We all know what's going on now. So even if it's not true about Donald Trump doing the stuff that he did, we know that something went on with these people there. Some of these people were there for nefarious reasons. So we can play like, keep making excuses for these people, keep arguing with each other about this shit. But us arguing with each other about it doesn't change anything. I saw this guy who was interviewing with Candace Owens, and he says, in America, they will let you guys protest. They let you guys protest. They let you guys talk. They let you say all the stuff you want to say, but they know that you won't change. They know we won't change. They know we won't bring about change. They know the people are complacent here. So, and that's really true. That's really true. We protest and we go, we call for boycotts and all this kind of shit, but we never follow through. We even if we do a boycott, it may last a week, before we back in there. I remember when everybody was boycotting Bud Light, about the guy. I can't remember this little tranny or whatever, but anyway, Kid Rock was shooting up the Bud Light, 6-packs and 12-packs, and then all of a sudden he flipped it. He's back on the Bud Light, and everybody flipped back on the Bud Light. Like, we can't be that fucking stupid, right? We cannot be following these celebrities around like this. We cannot let these people dictate what we think about these politics and what we think about these politicians. That is not their place. Let them entertain, let them sing and dance and shuffle and jive and, all that, let them do that. And you discern for yourself what is really important for your life, because these politicians are dirty. They don't care about you. They don't care about this country. Look at the deterioration of this country. Look at the rapid decline of this country because they want to let this weird shit go on here. Look at the rapid decline of this country because of what where our moral compass is. Look at this mess of a country. And we're on social media arguing with each other about nothing that we as long as we sit here arguing with each other about it, we know nothing will change. We know nothing's going to change as long as we sit here and argue with each other about it. But all these other people are on this list, man. All of these other names are on the list. So many more names are on the list. So, be fair. That's all I'm saying. Be fair and tell the truth. Tell the truth. When you're on X saying that Donald Trump raped a 14-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, and you don't have proof of that, you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet. Because if you don't have any proof, you're just slinging wild allegations with no base. Your allegation is baseless if you don't have any proof. It's crazy. And then we argue about it as if we know. And we don't know shit. Honestly. If you really want to know, we don't know anything. We're all out here speculating because they only give us what they want us to have. Look at all the redaction. Look at all the redactions, man. Like, they only give us what they want us to have. Don't be stupid. Don't be out here arguing and at your brother's neck, at your sister's neck over this shit. When they don't care what you say. They haven't stopped doing it one bit. And we're out here arguing about it while they're actually doing it. Come on, man. We got to do better about it by each other. We have to be, better with each other, man. This is, it's be fair at least. Be fair. And, cut out this one-sided crap, man. If y'all gonna lay into anybody, lay into everybody. Everybody on the list should be having their face on the fucking timeline, every other picture, like Donald Trump. Every name on the list needs to be outed, just like y'all doing with Donald Trump, man. Like, come on. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't have, like I said earlier, I don't have a dog in the fight anymore. I have no faith in the political system. I have no faith in this system, period. So, I hope, sincerely, I hope that it's not true. I do. I really do. I hope that, that Donald Trump is not a monster. I hope that's true. I hope it's true for anybody on there. I hope while they're all saying, hey, we were just hanging out. We weren't participating in that kind of stuff. I was just, hey, we had some conversations, we talked, but I wasn't in that kind of stuff. I wasn't, Bill Gates, and he lies so much. I don't know why people would even put a camera in his mouth to ask him any question. Hey, people deleting posts and tweets and shit that they did years ago when they were just thought their code words were, slick and nobody was going to ever figure it out. But I remember watching this little series called Fall of the Cabal, and I know in that series that lady would always say, their symbolism will be their downfall. And sure enough, when you talk about Pizzagate and ice cream and Barack Obama throwing $60,000 pizza parties and ice cream parties at the White House, shit, he should have been feeding all of Washington, D.C. with that. A pizza party, $60,000. Who the hell is he feeding with that much pizza? But those are code words. Pizza and ice cream is code words that pedophiles use. That's how they know what they're getting. Or that's how they order what they want. So be fair, man. Be fair. Barack Obama is dirty. Dirty. Just like all the rest of them. Nothing special about that guy. Nothing special. Nothing. Dirty. Dirty. Ushered in all this confusion in our children. This, man. So be fair. Be fair. Be fair. Be fair. Donald Trump is like I said earlier, man, the only thing that really, gets to me about Donald Trump at this point is just the way he serves this little country over there. And that's the kind of thing that makes me think that, they may have something on him. They may actually have some tape and shit. They may actually have something on him. Mossad, Israel may actually have something on him because, $200 million is not enough to sell out your whole country and do the bidding of warmongers. That's not enough money when you already are worth, a few $1 billion yourself. That's, yeah, that's campaign money. Yeah, that's great for your campaign, which is ridiculous, right? We should not be letting anybody donate $200 million to anybody's campaign. You don't think $200 million can buy you some special interest? You're crazy. If you think that, you know, my man is bought and paid for and may be compromised. Definitely bought and paid for now. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But again, I hope it's not true about Donald Trump, man. Like between 2016, I didn't vote for him in 2016, but I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. So I didn't vote for anybody in 2016 in the presidential race. I thought the choices were bad, but I did in 2020 and I did again in 2024. Just because I believed what he said. I believed that he was America first. I believed that he was going to do something for the people, really. I thought he really would. And as you can see, the only people getting their promises delivered are, the only person getting his promises delivered is Benjamin Netanyahu. So they worship and serve Israel, and they tell you. They worship and serve Israel, and they tell you. So, when you have your own politicians in your country getting up and saying, they came to Washington to do the bidding of Israel, to serve Israel, to put Israel first and make sure Israel is safe, and then try to act like, if you don't do what Israel wants us to do, then God is going to smite you. Such bullshit. Man. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm going to be moving over to my Ken Patterson Show page on Rumble. So if you would, I'm going to put the bio in the link at the end of the show, and then if you guys would please follow me over there. I would greatly appreciate it, and that would help my page over there. I'm trying to uniform my show across different platforms. So I want the Ken Patterson Show to be the show page here, the show page at YouTube, and the show page at X. So so I'm there on all of those pages. Also TikTok. So if you would, you can follow me across all of those platforms. That would be great. But if you would, please go over to the Ken Patterson Show on Rumble and follow me there. I would greatly appreciate it, guys. That would help me out so much. And thank you so much again for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. And thank you for your energy, guys. Thanks so much. I love you. Have a good night. Peace.